All right, today we're going to explore the vision behind the Sarcastic Mariner. It's a voice that shines a light on a really dangerous gap in one of the world's most critical industries. This is a story about what happens when official procedure, the rulebook, collides head-on with human reality out on the open sea. And this right here, this sentence, just gets right to the heart of it all. The sea demands a huge amount, for sure. But the real focus, the whole point of this, is to talk about the human cost, the very real price paid by the people who answer that call. So to really get a handle on the mission, first we have to understand the scale of this invisible engine that basically powers our entire world. And I'm talking about the people behind all the goods we use every single day.
90%. Just let that sink in. That's how much of the world's stuff is moved by sea. I mean, think about it. Your phone, your car, the coffee you're drinking, chances are almost all of it has spent time on a ship to get to you.
And this number, 1.2 million, that's how many seafarers are out there, on the water at any given moment. Right now, they're the ones making it all happen, often in total isolation, thousands of miles from home, facing who knows what kind of dangers. And here's the real kicker. They are absolutely essential to our way of life, yet these 1.2 million people are almost completely invisible to us. It's the classic case of out of sight, out of mind. This quote just nails the problem, doesn't it? An official accident report, well, it tells you what happened. It gives you the sequence of events. But what it will never, ever tell you is what it cost. The human trauma, the stuff people carry with them long after the paperwork is filed. And all of this brings us to this central idea of a dangerous gap. It's this space between the system and the reality. And exploring this gap is the entire point, because it's in that space that things go terribly wrong. So this is the core concept. The gap isn't just a metaphor. It's that very real, sometimes treacherous space between the systems and procedures designed in a nice, clean office somewhere and the messy, unpredictable human experience of being on a ship in the middle of the ocean. So think about it like this. The system, it relies on procedure, on compliance checklists, on neat and tidy dashboards. But reality at sea? That relies on intuition, on hands-on experience out on the deck, and on a gut feeling for what is actually safe, not just what's compliant. The gap is the constant push and pull between those two worlds. And let's be crystal clear here, this isn't some philosophical debate. This gap is the very space where procedures fall short, where just being compliant isn't enough to create safety, and where people get hurt, or worse. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the mission here? What's the whole point of shining such a bright light into this dangerous gap? Well, it all comes down to a very specific kind of clarity. I love this. It's a powerful, direct mission statement. This isn't about being anti-technology or anti-management or anti-progress. No, it's about being against a very specific and very common kind of industry self-deception. It's the delusion that just by ticking a box on a compliance form, you've somehow made an operation safe. It's the delusion that the only things that matter are the things you can measure and put on a spreadsheet. And it's the delusion that a procedure written thousands of miles away could possibly account for every single reality on a ship in the middle of a storm at 3 a.m. So the mission, then, is really to see these incidents through the eyes of the people who actually lived them. It's all about shifting the focus away from the cold statistics and onto the personal stories and the human cost that the official reports always leave out. So that brings us to the name itself, the Sarcastic Mariner. It's a very deliberate, very specific choice of voice, so let's break down what it actually means. It's a fair question, right? Why sarcastic? But this isn't about being cynical or disrespectful, not at all. It's about being authentic to the voice of the very people we're talking about. It's a very specific kind of professional tone. And this little anecdote just captures it perfectly. It's that dry, observational, profoundly understated voice of seasoned professionals who have seen the gap between procedure and reality with their own two eyes. It's the voice of people who have actually been there. All right, so who is this for? Who's being invited to take part in this very specific, very human conversation about what really happens in global shipping? Well, the audience is probably a lot broader than you'd think. Of course, it's for seafarers and their families, but it's also for maritime students, for the professionals working on shore, and really for anyone who's just curious about the real human story behind all that global trade. At the end of the day, this is for anyone who wants to understand what happens when good, competent people who are following the rules suddenly find themselves facing the completely unexpected. It's about that moment when the manual can't help you and you're just left facing that gap. And that brings us right back where we started, to this final provocative thought. It's a powerful summary of the responsibility that we all share. It's a reminder that behind that 90% of goods we all use, there are real people answering a very, very demanding call. And it leaves us with a really critical question. Are we thinking carefully enough about what we're asking of them?